Today in our 2004 Jeep Liberty, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster Brake-Lite relay kit for towed vehicles, part number RM-88400. The main reason why you're going to want a brake-light relay is that when we're going down the road towing our Jeep and we have our turn signals on, we're getting the correct signal. But when we hit the brakes in our motorhome and it applies the brakes on our supplemental braking system, the light's going to go solid and it's not going to blink anymore. Now the reason why it goes solid is because it's overriding the signal from our RV, which is going to cause a lot of safety issues when we're driving down the road. Now the brake light relay is going to install inside the car. Let's go ahead and make sure that it's working properly. So as you can see, we have a turn signal on from our towing vehicle, and if I step into our Jeep and push on the brake pedal, we can see that it's still blinking, so we know the relay is doing its job. Now this isn't going to affect any kind of normal driving, so I'll go ahead and get in the car, turn the key on, and make sure that my brake lights are still working properly. And as you can see, when I push on the brake pedal, they're still going to work when I have the key in the on position. First step in our installation is we're going to have to find our brake switch. So if we come to our brake pedal and follow it up, it's going to be underneath the dash. But fortunately, we can come to this panel right here underneath the steering wheel and it'll come right down. So if you just want to reach behind, kind of pull away on each end, it should fold down and our brake switch is going to be right here. It's going to be this white or off-white colored box, and if we follow it up, we're going to have a bundle of wires that are coming off of it. Now we're going to need to test each one of these wires and find out which one is the cold side of the brake switch, which means it's only going to get power when the brake pedal is depressed. Now according to the instructions, we're going to need to use a multimeter to make sure we're getting a constant 12-volt power source when the pedal is depressed and not any other power like 5 volts that some of the other wires may carry. So I have my tester on the white wire with the brown stripe. As you can see, I'm not getting any voltage, maybe a tiny little bit there, but that's not really a reading. Now if I press on the brake pedal, we can see that I'm getting 12 volts. And if I let go, it goes back to 0. So this wire is going to be the cold side of the brake switch, and again it's going to be that white wire with the brown stripe on it. So we're going to cut that white wire with the brown stripe in half. Just want to make sure you leave yourself enough room to work with away from the switch, but also still be able to reach it. And we're going to strip back both ends of our wire. So we're going to start with the wire that's closest to the switch or still attached to the switch. And we're going to take one of the blue butt connectors that's in our kit. We're going to slide it onto the wire and crimp it down. We can grab our relay socket, and for now we're going to be working with the green wire. So we can pull off the insulation that's already pre-stripped on the wire, and we're going to trim back just a little bit. Now once we get it to appropriate length, we're going to slide into the other end of that butt connector and crimp it down. Now the other end of that brake wire that we cut, we're going to take another butt connector and crimp it on that end as well. Now we're going to be taking the black wire and connecting it to that butt connector. Next we can pay attention to our white wire. Now this is going to be for our ground, and they do provide us with a ring terminal, so we're going to slide it over our stripped end of our white wire and crimp it down. Now they do provide us with the self-tapping screw so we can apply our ground to the sheet metal. So we should have a red and a blue wire left. In our application, we're not going to be using the blue wire at all. So we can take the red wire, pull back the insulation, and we're going to crimp on a blue butt connector. On the other end, we're going to be attaching the length of red wire that comes in our kit, so we'll need to strip back that end. Our red wire is going to be for our power source. Fortunately, if we come to the driver's side, just right here on the outside panel, this is going to be where our fuse panel is, so we can just reach down to the bottom and the cover will pop right off. So now we're going to take a red wire and we're going to route it behind the dash here and come up so that we can have the wire coming towards our fuses. So we just come from the inside, we can feed our wire through. We're going to pull most of the excess out. We're going to need to grab a test light, and we're going to be looking for a fuse that's only getting power when the ignition is on, just like when we're driving down the road. So if we start with this 20 amp fuse here, you can see that it's not getting power at all with the key in the off position. But if I put the key into the ignition and turn it on, we can see that it is getting power, and when I turn it off, it loses power. So we'll go ahead and use that 20 amp fuse right there. Just going to grab a pair of needle nose pliers. We're going to pull that fuse out. So here's the fuse tap that they give us in our kit. Now you'll notice that there's two ends for the fuses to go into, and the factory fuse we're going to want to put closest to the terminals down at the bottom. So we can go ahead and put it in that one and push it in place. And that second slot, we're going to take the 10 amp fuse that's provided in our kit, and we're going to put it in that slot. Now since we have so much excess wire, I'm going to go ahead and cut it back, and we're going to strip back the end. Now we're going to slide that stripped end of our wire into our fuse tap where the Blueblood connector is and crimp it down. Then we can take our fuse tap, and just like a normal fuse, we're going to put it back into the slot we got it from. At this point we can grab a relay and we can put it into our holder. Now there's only one way this relay goes in place, so don't worry about getting it in incorrectly. Then we can tidy up all our wires under our dash here. There's actually a spot in the relay itself that we can use one of the zip ties in our kit to tie it to some existing wiring. So I'm just going to bundle most of my wires together here, zip tie them together. Then I'm going to take another one of my zip ties and go through that hole. I'm going to tie it to this bundle where my brake switch wires are coming out of. That way I don't have to worry about the relay or the wires hanging down too far and interfering with the pedals. So with the connections made, we can go start putting our panels back in place. And this one, just going to lift it up, give it a good firm press, and it'll lock back into place. And over here, we're just going to want to line up the pins and press that panel back into place. That'll finish up your look at the Roadmaster Brake-Lite Relay Kit for towed vehicles, part number RM-88400 on our 2004 Jeep Liberty.
Thanks for watching. Click the link in our description below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com. And leave us a comment if you have any questions.